ourselves back into our Zoom Pilates. So we're going to do some an all-rounder class. We're going to just a bit of refreshing of some of our principles, but hopefully get a good session on the core, but also some work on the back, reciprocal innovation, obviously working, make sure you always work one and the other to get that balance. All righty, so hopefully you'll feel nice and mobilized by the end of today's session. So let's get ourselves started, feet in parallel. Hands just down by your sides with the fingertips reaching towards the floor. Shoulder blades slightly back and down. And just go ahead and just gently think about that belly button, just slightly actively drawing in ever so slightly gently. Breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. So start off by just settling your thoughts. And if you want to close your eyes, go ahead and close those eyes. Of course, if you tend to turn off one of your senses and it tends to heighten all the others, all right? So perhaps turning off the looking sense might be able to get you to see a little bit or feel a little bit more of how you are this morning, how your body feels, how your mind feels. Okay, so you're just going to be breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Nice and gentle breathing. Okay. So we're lateral thoracic breathing, of course. So just imagine this air going into your lungs and inflating your lungs like balloons. And then often with Pilates, it's the response effect that we're looking for. The response, of course, is with your rib cage, just having a gentle stretch and expansion of the rib cage with the lungs inflating. But try and think where you're sending that breath, okay? So we're trying to think about breathing into the side space between your chest and the arms. So really think about that. Even if you want to, pop your hands onto the lower rib cage, those lower ribs at the front of you, and see how that feels. As you breathe in, just notice the breath heading to the left and right of you. As opposed to the lifting of the shoulders, quite often people I see, especially in class, you breathe in and lift the shoulders, or breathe into this belly space, which is kind of only really a response to the diaphragm moving and not necessarily breathing into the lungs, but you're breathing in and pressing down these organs, if you like, into the belly. Of course, you can't breathe into the belly as such. All right, so gentle breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Lateral thoracic breathing. Morning, Mary. Hope you can hear me there. Lateral thoracic breathing into this rib cage area and also the growing of the spine. So when you breathe in, try and imagine yourself growing nice and tall through the spine. Imagine that soft tissue between the vertebrae getting a little bit of a stretch and each vertebrae getting a stretch away from the one below. Okay, so just having a moment to reach towards the ceiling and feel that airiness, that spaciousness in the spine, but also that sense of maybe even lifting the pelvis gently up and away from the top of those thigh bones. Can you get in your mind's eye? It might mean nothing, it might not, it may mean something to you, but feeling that sense of light and airiness above the hip bones, above the thigh bones, even through the knee joint, even through the ankle, to the point where you're almost feeling like you're breathing in and feeling like you're ever so light under the soles of the feet, like you just reached the floor there under the soles of the feet. Hi, Warburtons, morning both, right, lovely. Okay, so bringing yourself now towards possible muscle activation. So as you exhale, thinking about that drawing in of the belly to spine, firing up this core area, this mid-center area. As you exhale, bring the belly to spine and also the pelvic floor area. Let's just go ahead and draw those guys up as well. Front and back passages, try and give them an even weight of attention or even amount of your attention. As you exhale. And one more time, bringing us all in together. Lovely breath in, growing through this thoracic area, growing through the spine. Exhale, zipping and hollowing the core and pelvic floor area. All righty, good. So bring yourselves back into the room if your eyes are closed. Try not to lose too much of that position you've just got. We're going to just go ahead and do some footwork, which Pilates did a lot of when he first off started his assessments of people. He would get them to do some footwork, both on the mat and also on the reformer. So we're going to replicate that this morning. Go ahead and lift your left heel for me. So you're pressing onto the ball of the foot on the right there. Perhaps a gentle lean forwards towards me and then, or towards the front of your mat. And you've got a bit more energy into that toes on the left side. And just roll the foot from side to side. Feel if you can just notice each toe as you press from side to side and make sure that they're all awake Having a little bit of a tension and a bit of a massage on the back of the toes there. And then release the heel back down, bring yourself back to your standing position, lifting the right heel. And again, a slight lean forwards, a bit more press onto that side of the foot on the right there, and just rolling from side to side. Again, over each of those digits, but especially really on the outside, those little guys get a bit neglected, a bit scrunched up sometimes and forgotten about. And then bring the foot back to center, release the heel back down, and we're into our standing position. Okay, so we're going to go one more time onto the left and lift the heel. So you're now just standing upright, you've got the belly in and you've got your shoulder blades back and down. I want you to imagine now that the ceiling has come right down onto your head there, and you cannot lift any higher, but you're just going to now switch and lift the right heel and place the left heel back down. So breathing in, exhale as you switch and change. So you're trying not to get this into just a very quick pedal. You're thinking of being very mindful that you place one gently down and then lift the other. Now we're trying to avoid that bobbing up and down in between, okay? We're trying to think about actually using this thigh bone area in the hip. You're using the knee, you're using the ankle to articulate the movement. But you're really rolling onto those toes, getting all that way forwards as you did a moment ago. Breathing in, exhale as you lift. Last two. Waking up the calves, waking up the soles of the feet, waking up the joints in the lower limbs, releasing your heel back down this time. Okay. Can you look down to your toes for me? And we're just going to just sway forwards and backwards, okay? So keep looking down in that toe area-ish and sway forwards and backwards. Try not to necessarily roll right onto the balls of the feet or lift the toes so you're onto the heels. You're still trying to keep pretty much most of the foot in connection with the floor. But if the heel comes to hover, or the toes do as well, or you lose your balance, that is fine. But remember, you're swaying from the ankles and the lower limbs, not from the waist and the hips, okay? So you're feeling that sway, perhaps a little bit in the calf muscles as you head forwards. I want you to observe yourself, okay? So don't just listen to me. Try and think about what muscles are active as you sway forwards and backwards. Because we're going to make a small change and see what muscles perhaps respond differently in your body, okay? So what I want you to do is come back to center, look out towards the horizon now for me, and sway again here. See if you feel any other muscles have joined in. Perhaps a little bit more in the lower back area, maybe the shoulder blades to stop you falling forwards. Maybe a little bit deeper into that pelvis, pelvic floor and core to stop you from falling backwards. So that sense of looking out is really important, okay? So when we do a lot of work in our day-to-day and we're looking down and we're pootling around in the streets and we're doing stuff in the house and you're not really using your upper body because we're down here and busy, make sure you think about looking out at the horizon and use all of those muscles, okay, to help with your movement, okay? Okay, trust your body, have faith, recruit all the body muscles for you that you have available and bring yourself back into center. Gorgeous. Go ahead and bring your heels together now, perhaps slightly dividing those toes towards the a little bit further away from each other towards the corners of the mat. Alrighty, so we've fired up hopefully our inner trunk of muscles, our conscious awareness of all our body muscles being needed. So we're going to use all these guys now as we go into our double heel lift. As you double heel lift, you're going to zip these legs together. Try and think of these heels gluing together as you bring yourself into your double heel raise and lower back down. So find that energy, find that inner thigh activation, even under those glutes there with a bit of a squeeze, even the shoulder blades drawing you back and down. Again, just as you work up your muscles a moment ago to stop you falling forwards, use those posterior chain muscles, the back guys, the shoulder blades, the glutes, to help you power up through the top of the head as opposed to driving forwards. Okay, up we go and down. Last one, and pause with the heels down here. Okay, so now we're going to take those knees out towards the toes. Okay, so try not to lean forwards with this. You're still feeling like you're just against a nice wall behind you there. Belly is in. Go ahead and fire up their belly button muscles. Nice. Now zip the legs together. And from here, we're going to come up into a heel raise. As you come down, release the knees towards your toes. Zip the legs together and up towards the ceiling with a double heel raise. That's it. Well done. Lovely. Knees to the side, zip together and double heel raise. Last time, knees to the side and legs together, double heel raise. Okay, pausing down here. I'm going to add on one final challenge, which is a little bit of a bit taxing. We're going to think of now coming up into the heel raise and pause and hold with your elevated legs there. Nice. Keep those heels elevated if you can. Now we're going to broaden the knees towards your toes. Okay, so you've got that challenge, okay, of heels up, upper body down. Gorgeous. Now we're going to come back into our zip legs position. So they're zipped up together. Heels should still be off the mat if you can, and then lower the heels down with control. Okay, so let's see how we get on. Lifting with the heel raise. Keep those heels pushing together. They're glued with super glue. Knees towards the side of you. Zip the legs back as you come into standing, but the heels are up still. Now you come down with control. We've got two more. If at any point these are just all getting too much or your balance is a bit doolally, please just focus on any of the pieces you've done already, which might be just the heel raise. It might just be the frog knees dividing. We have one more, guys, together if we can with a lift. Knees lowering. Can you get a little bit lower with those knees this time? Zip yourselves up and heels down with control. Fantastic. Nice. Legs back into parallel. So separate those heels slightly and go ahead and pop your hands out towards the front for our Cossack position. Alrighty, so mobilizing now the upper body, this trunk. Okay, we're going to keep the hips perfectly facing forwards. You've got two little headlights facing forwards. They are focused in front of you and they cannot shift, okay, from left to right. So with our hands towards the front in Cossack, shoulder blades back and down, belly in. Let's take our twist to the left. You're going to just gently twist through the waist. So the rib cage comes with you, as do the shoulders. Look slightly towards the left and bring yourself back to center. Breathing in, grow through the spine and over towards the right. That growing through the spine and the middle breath really helps you, okay, to find the space in the vertebrae. So don't neglect it. And exhale as you take yourself into rotation. And as you're at home, just have a little bit more of a thought about the opposite hip from your direction of travel. So if you're heading to the left, keep pulling that right hip back and away behind you. Okay, we've got one more either side. Opposite hip pulling back so it doesn't let the pelvis come out of alignment, and those headlights are still facing forwards perfectly to the front as they were at the beginning. And then bring yourself back to center and release your arms back down. Okay, we'll dig a bit more deeply into the spine shortly. Let's just bring our knees down towards the toes. Really sit into this knee bend, okay? So you feel like those calf muscles are getting a nice stretch at the back there. The belly is in. And again, we're just going to think about growing through the spine. Now, I want you to imagine yourself now as almost a pole through the crown of the head down to the tailbone here. All right, so we're not going to be able to have that lovely undulating spine. You're going to think about this being fixed as one piece. I'd like you to just gently hinge forwards now. Feel that belly button pulling in, and it's your rib cage and your gaze looking down really towards the mat, and then bring yourself back up and look to the horizon. So it's simply a hinge. Breathing in and hinge forwards. Feel that you're aware that you can use this spine in one piece. Okay, you don't have to articulate it. Yeah, breathe in, hinging forwards. The belly comes in, and you're really feeling that hinge at this hip joint area here. Okay, we've got a couple more. Because sometimes the lumbar spine doesn't want to be used. It perhaps feels a bit uncomfortable, and you have the power to use, therefore, other muscles to recruit. Yeah, okay. Especially if you do have any lower back injuries or issues or problems, it's important to be able to use the whole back. Okay, so hinging forwards for this last time, bring yourself back up and straighten the legs into standing. Gorgeous. Okay, so folks, we're going to head down onto the mat. So bring yourselves down onto your mat position. We're lying down in supine position, which means our legs are bent with our knees towards the ceiling, and our lower back is, and our back is on the mat, and our feet are flat on the floor as well. Roughly hip width for these legs for me, guys. Okay, so just do check that, even if it's by bringing your legs and knees together, and then all you do is put your toes wide like you do with Pilates V or turn out, and then you bring the heels into alignment, and that will pretty much get you your hip position, as I can't see you or be with you there today. So shoulder blades are back and down. The chin is slightly tucked into your throat space. And we're going to take a short meander up the spine now. So when we've just done that piece with the spine in one kind of pole, we're now going to let it be really undulating and flowing and articulated. So without further ado, bring the pubic bone now and slightly lift the pubic bone so that you're trying to tilt your pelvis and press into that belly button area, maybe a bit of a squish into the lower mat, and then release away, and the pubic bone tilts away from your nose, and you've got that lovely arch again in your lower back. Just do 3 or 4 of these pelvic tilts for me, but really focus on there's no rush, first point. Also, try and get to the end of range of each. Okay, so get to your maximum tilt towards your nose and then your maximum tilt away. Yeah, so really embrace it and acknowledge that. And it's almost like a north-south. If you had a compass on your pelvis, you're heading from north to south with these pelvic tilts. And the next time you've lowered your back into the mat, or you've got the belly button pressing down, or your pubic bones as high as you can, whichever visual you want to go for, pause there and now start to think about the next vertebrae peeling off the floor. So you're going to be thinking of pretty much that mid-spine heading towards the lower rib cage. Maybe you start to feel a bit of an opening at the front of the hip flexors, even a stretch of the quadriceps, which is lovely as well. And then release down that mid-spine one by one, pubic bone still pulling up until the last minute, and then you release the pubic bone away from you and you're into neutral spine with a small gap in your back. Then we go again, checking out that pausing point where perhaps you're under the belly button squished down, and then to the rib cage. It's just nice to know these check-in points, these little milestones for you where you know that you've got to one point, you can stop there, embrace it, and then work further rather than dashing through. Yeah, and maybe then that might mean you miss 1 or 2 vertebrae out. So heading to the rib cage, the lower rib cage. This time, perhaps you want to steadily head a bit higher up towards the lower area of your shoulder blades. And then again, just be mindful of your journey back down from the shoulder blades through the rib cage to the lowest rib, via the mid-spine to your lumbar spine back down. And this time heading up, we're going to get to that maximum range and hold. So you're looking to be at your lower ribs, mid ribs, or the lower shoulder blade area. Once you get here, can you stretch your kneecaps away from you as if you're trying to press the knees to the other side of the room? Get the stretch through the hips, and maybe a little bit more of a push up of the hip bones and the glute activation under the bum here. Now think about your hips. They're currently in parallel up towards the ceiling. Belly is in, pelvic floor might be slightly active. I want you to lower your right hip, but your left hip stays exactly where it is in space. So left hip stays where it is, right hip and bottom cheek slightly lowers with a pelvic twist. And you come back to center, both hips to the sky. Now the right hip stays where it is and the left hip sinks towards the mat, bottom cheek slightly lowers, but not because you've articulated the spine, but just because you've let the pelvis tilt from side to side. A visual for me that works is the sense of a seesaw. Yeah, so you're kind of seesawing these hips from side to side. Or perhaps you might like to think of that compass again. It's the east-west. Your hips represent the east and west of the compass. And you're just lowering one, and then you bring yourself back to level and lower the other. And again, why? Because you're getting into the sacroiliac joint, the base of the spine where it comes into the pelvis. And we're just getting a little bit of manipulation there from side to side. This next time you're parallel, let's release the lower back down onto the back. Let's lower the back down onto the mat, just one vertebrae at a time. Think of that journey, those milestones you had on the way up, releasing back down, 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 and pause here. You need to bring your knees into your chest. Just go ahead for a moment and have a little rock from side to side. So I've mentioned in class this week a fantastic guy called Dr. Brent Anderson. If you ever want to look him up and do any of his classes, if you can find them on YouTube, it's worth it. Dr. Brent Anderson, he does lots of work with lower backs, lower back issues. We're going to just do a piece that he has taught, which is called the Typewriter, which is really great for the back release. Okay, so It's a little bit more of the east-west that we were working on a moment ago. So I'm just going to get you to come up into bridge. You can just bring yourself straight up. You don't need to articulate particularly, but making sure your heels are just under the knees and you're still pulling those kneecaps or pressing them to the end of the mat there. Yeah, so you've got that sense of just lengthening the thigh bones out of the hips area. When I say typewriter, you imagine yourself now as one of those old-fashioned typewriters that kind of the trolley goes across to the end, and when you finish the sentence, you have to ping it back across to the start, the old school stuff, you know, back in the dark ages, that stuff, yeah. Okay, so your hips are now that little typewriter trolley. I want you to try and imagine those hips then now moving from left to right. So this is not seesawing. You're trying not to get the knees to come with you, but you're imagining those hips, those east-west hips, they're still in parallel to the ceiling, and you just move them from side to side, and maybe you're thinking it's more about the waist movement, okay? Maybe that's kind of your key to unlocking this move, but it's not really from the knees. So try and think about releasing the hips left to right. Once you've got that motion kind of sussed, bring yourself back to the center, pause. Okay, let's start this journey. The first vertebrae are at the top of your spine that you've got currently elevated off the mat. I want you to release that first vertebrae down onto the mat if you can. Then you tight right these hips from left to right, come back to center, and then let the next vertebrae come down onto the mat. This is a slow process. You're going to tight right those hips from left to right. Come back to center with the hips, and the next vertebrae heads down. And then you tight right the hips from left to right. Next vertebrae, and so on. Tight right the hips from left to right. So when you're carrying on there nicely doing this for me, imagine now each vertebrae, every time you release it back down, you get a chance to give it a little bit of a shove from side to side. And you get that movement in the soft tissue and then the muscles and the ligaments either side of each vertebrae. And we don't often do this, okay? Of course, we're always moving forwards and backwards, lifting, standing, sitting, getting up. And that's your sagittal plane. That's forwards and backwards. We don't often move sideways. So this is a really super mobilizer for the back. Yeah, it can get a little bit niggly, so do pause if you want to. Well done, Michelle. We're getting down to the last nitty-gritties of the last few. As you get down to the mat, it might feel like you're just basically smooshing the bottom around, but it's a good way to get into that lower back. Okay, once you've got down to the mat this last time, release the spine, and yeah, go ahead and pop your knees into your chest. It's quite a strong piece, okay? So just have a small circle of the knees and massage of the lower back. It's one of those ones that kind of gets better with practice, okay? So maybe the first time or so it feels like it's intense, but it is a really good mobilizer and help to articulate those individual vertebrae. Place your feet back down. Gorgeous, well done, guys. Okay, let's give the back a rest. All righty, hands down by your sides. Now, I want you to find neutral spine for me, okay? So let's be caring of this spine. We're going to let it be in its natural shape. You've got a bit of a space in the lower back. Remember, we talk about little Maltesers being safe and secure under the lower spine. Glue the belly button down to the spine now. Imagine Velcro just sticking it in there. And that's a gorgeous place to be because you've really articulated the core muscles, but you've not lost your natural shape, okay? So you're just really basically you, but better, yeah? Okay, so you're nice and strong through the core. All right, so when you're ready, breathing in, I just want you to simply lift your right leg into tabletop, but notice that everything is really super calm in this core, and then place your right leg back down. Breathe in, exhale, lift the left leg into tabletop, and then place that leg back down. So if I was looking at you and observing, or you were observing yourself from a high, you can see that your core is really calm. You're really strong through the belly button area. You've held this spine in its natural shape. And then but you're working it. You know, this lifting of the alternate legs is working the core whilst you're maintaining neutral spine. So one more either side as you exhale, lift. And final time. And bring yourself back into feet on the mat. Now we're going to head into imprint, where you then now squish the lower back down. So you're squashing that Malteser from underneath that back, or in that back area. You've got imprint, so you have the lower spine now on the mat, nice and secure. Now I'd like to bring your right leg into tabletop. Breathe in, exhale, and bring your left leg into tabletop as well. So you're up there in imprint. Have a word, think about it, visualize this connection in the lower back. So we're really safe and secure with both limbs lifted. That's what we need to do for here. So we've done this piece before. You know that there's a plaster cast on both of your knees. This knee joint cannot open at all from a right angle. I would like you to start off with your right toe tapping down towards the floor and bring that leg back up into tabletop. Breathe in and left leg. So think about your control center. What happens in that lower back when you toe tap? Does it start to lift and start to hover off the floor? Are you managing to control the breath? Okay, maybe slow it down slightly because every tap is with an exhale. You breathe in when you're in tabletop. Well done, Michelle. You breathe in tabletop and you exhale because it's the exhale that coordinates the core control. That's where you're going to get that tummy core strength, yeah? Exhale as you challenge by taking the toe into tap, nice. And pause this next time. In tabletop, bring your hands towards the ceiling, adding in coordination. So you're now looking towards opposite arm, heading away as you toe tap. So right toe tap, left arm away, bring yourself back to center where you breathe in, exhale, start the other side. Try to pause when you're back in center so you get that chance to regroup, check in with the body. Bring your belly to core, sorry, belly to spine as you exhale. Last one either side. And final time. Well done. Bring those feet back down onto the mat, one at a time, gently. Then take your hands overhead. Reach those legs along towards the end of the mat and just give yourself a full mat stretch. Legs are nice and long as well. Give the legs a nice stretch too. Yeah, that's it. Take any wiggles or jiggles that are good for you. Might be some twists of the ankles, twists of the wrists. And then bring your hands back overhead. Bend your knees, place them back down. So blend your knees, feet back on the mat underneath you there. Okay, so going to be a little bit an imprint. I'd like you to bring your right knee into your chest and hold behind the right knee. Draw that right thigh in towards you. And as with all stretches, it's a bit of a stretch really. So hands around the leg if you can, just under the knee. Really try and think about that thigh bone coming right in towards the chest if you can. Let the left leg extend now along the mat and reach that leg nice and long. Get those legs now reaching to the end of the mat. Yeah, nice. Wonderful. Pausing there for a second. Bring that leg, the left leg in, and place the right leg back down the mat. Bring your left knee into your chest and reach that right leg along the mat. Go ahead and give a good old stretch. Right leg nice and long along the mat. Yeah, that's it. Nice. Keep drawing that left thigh in towards you as you reach the right leg a little bit further, longer. And then bring your right leg in, place the left leg back down. Okay, so we're going to head into single leg stretch. You can have the head down if you would rather, or your head and shoulders can be up. So we're going to bring the right knee into your chest, hold around the right knee or lower knee area, bring your head, neck and shoulders up so your nose is towards that knee. Extending the left leg now out and along the mat. Okay, so lift the rib cage perhaps a little bit more if you can, not by pulling the neck, but the ribs if you can. We're going to breathe in, exhale, and switch. So your opposite knee is in. Well done. Left knee in. Breathe in and right knee in. Left leg reach. So just going to continue swapping here. Breathe in and exhale on the knee as it comes towards you. And each time switch and stretch. Switch and stretch. Don't forget to stretch that leg along the mat. Keep lifting the rib cage towards the thigh. For 3, for 2, last one. Bring both knees into your chest, tuck up like a little tiny ball. And then if your head is elevated, bring the head, neck and shoulders back down. But go ahead and hold those legs there for a moment. Okay, see if you can think about keeping them there. Wonderful. All right, so we're going to head into double leg stretch. So just bring your knees together. We're going to work on both legs now going away to 45 degrees. So with the head down to begin with, we're going to breathe in. Exhale, squash that Malteser for all it's worth and just send those legs to 45 degrees, and your hands are just either side of you, fingertips reaching towards the end of the mat. Bring the knees back in with a really big old hug. Breathing in, exhale, legs glued together, send those guys away. We're opening the muscles in the front of this pelvis and hip area. Okay, bring the knees in. If you want to lift the head, neck and shoulders, next time the legs go away, bring the legs head up and your ribs are lifting as you did a moment ago. Head comes down in between, breathing in. Exhale. If you want to add in the arms overhead, next time you lift, your head, neck and shoulders are up and your hands go away behind you. Nice. Bring your knees in, head down. The final flourish is you add the arm circle. As you come back into your knee, pull into chest, you circle the arms back round. Lifting arms away, circling the arms and knees back in. Okay, so please take any of these levels, and all of them, of course, your head can stay down if you wish. Okay, with the arms like so, even using the whole arms, head can be down. Last one. Well done. And head, neck and shoulders come back down and feet back onto the mat. Well done, gorgeous. Okay, bring that left knee into your chest for me, please. We're just going to have a little hamstring stretch here. It might be a little bit tight over the Easter holy bubs, all right? So just pause for a moment and hamstring stretch. Really think about pinning that tailbone down, okay? Little coccyx, just press it down now, okay? So that sometimes when you hamstring stretch, you kind of get a hamstring stretch by pushing into the floor with your opposite foot. So if you're now thinking, oh yeah, that's me, try and not push into the floor with the opposite foot, but pin the tailbone instead. This other foot's kind of just hanging out there, yeah? Top little tip to make sure that you've really pinned down this hamstring at one end, i.e. a bit towards your butt, and the other end is being stretched. And while I keep talking, you're still stretching. So breathe in and exhale, just gently draw that leg a little bit further towards you if you can. Tailbone down. That's it, breathing in, exhale, draw that in a little tiny bit more. And then go ahead and release that leg back down. Okay, right knee into chest and right leg extension. Holding again where you can, either the hamstring area or the calf muscle, not the knee. Because you'll be just grabbing those ligaments and then you'll be just into a bit of a bend. Check in with the tailbone. Imagine the coccyx, little tiny coccyx making a tiny dent in the mat there. This supporting leg's light, super light. Okay. And draw that leg in towards you a smidgen more. Check in with the tailbone. Breathe in. Exhale, draw that leg in a little bit more. And one more time. Gorgeous. And release. Okay, we're going to capitalize on this and do some scissors. So when you're ready, we're going to bring our right knee into the chest. Knee and nose coming together if you wish, and extend your leg into hamstring stretch as you did a moment ago. Left leg reaches out now along the end of the mat. From here, we're going to breathe in, exhale, and switch legs. Okay, that's it. Breathe in, exhale, and switch. Breathe in, exhale, and switch. Now, of course, if you want to, your head can be down. Okay, if you'd rather have the head down, I am fine with that. If you would rather even just have one foot on the mat to sort of support you, that is also modification. If it's all getting a little bit into the neck or a little bit too much with these hips, we've got 4, we've got 3, we've got 2, and we've got 1. Well done. Gently bring both knees into your chest and release head, neck, and shoulders down. Marvelous. Feet go back onto the mat. We're going to roll over onto our tummies, guys. Okay, so just bringing yourselves around onto your fronts. Hands are stacked. Okay, so you've got one on top of the other, and your forehead is on that top hand. Okay, legs are wide. So can I get you to pop those legs nice and wide at the back corner of the mat there? Okay, and as I said right at the beginning, we're making sure that we do work on the front and the core and work on the back as our balance. Okay. Forehead currently, be aware, observe that your forehead is facing down towards your hands. It's of course facing down towards the mat. Shoulder blades are back and down. And you're fairly relaxed through the hips, through the pelvis, through the legs. but you have the belly button gently drawing in. Okay, so you can already imagine, just as we had that lovely velcroing of the spine when we were lying on our backs, exactly the same. Bring that belly in. Feel like it's supporting you like a hammock under the belly there. Sorry, under the spine. Shoulder blades back and down. And when you next exhale, you've got that belly engaged. Just simply forehead float. And really feel that you're trying to imagine that forehead staying in parallel with the hands. Okay, it's really, really tempting to start to lift the chin and think, yeah, I can get higher, and lift your gaze towards the front of the mat. No, I want you to keep the forehead down. And the belly is in. And as you lift, I want you to imagine you're possibly pressing the elbows slightly into the mat in order to pull yourself forwards. It's as if you were dragging yourself to the other side of the room. And you're trying to get that spine length. You're trying to think about pulling yourself forwards from that lower lumbar spine. Okay, all the way to the top of the crown of your head. So that will need a bit of a pause in your lift. As you lift, pause, pull forwards, dig the elbows in, pull forwards. And then we've got one more when we're going to regroup, please, with the elevation. So lift, pause, hold, pull forwards, and just stay there. So you've got some space in the spine now. Now I'd like you to lift your gaze so your chin does come away from your chest, and maybe you can feel a bit of a pull from that belly button area, maybe that sense of a pull through the chest, even the throat space. Yeah. Now look back down at the hands and lower down onto your hands. Okay, so we're going to chunk it a bit into pieces. Lift the forehead, pull forwards. Lift your gaze, chin away from your chest. Pull from the belly button, find that length in extension, and then look back down at the hands, and there we go. Now this can be your level 1 or level 2, really. If you don't want to do the lift and the gaze, you're more than welcome to continue with your forehead float. But we're going to let ourselves move on to another level by lifting the elbows. So next time you've lifted your gaze away from the floor, lift the elbows and start to peel up into your slightly raised back extension. The hands are still down and the arms are straightening. Pull forwards though. Pull, imagine yourself now pulling forward, dig forwards, and then you now release down from the belly button, like the bridge. Imagine one vertebrae coming down at a time, releasing through then across the chest, the sternum, the chest plate, and then your chin and your head comes back onto your hands. Again, the same. Lift with the forehead float. Dig into the elbows, pull forward, find space, lift your gaze, growing tall into back extension. Okay, so I'm going to do a couple more of these. You don't have to have the elbows lift if you don't want to. But each time you come back down, think about yourself almost putting the vertebrae down a little bit further forward than you did last time. So when you get to back extension, pull forwards and imagine yourself plopping down a little bit further forwards along the mat. Well done. We've got our last one. Enjoying that lovely lift. And as we talked about last term, that back extension is as important as flexion. You need to be able to get some of those lovely little soft tissues between the vertebrae, little pockets, little cushions back into where they're supposed to be. Okay, so it's important to do. Once you're down this next time, just remove the hands, and we're going to put them into a Superman position. So pretty much shoulder width apart, no wider. But you're checking you're about shoulder width apart with those hands on the floor in front of you, and your forehead comes down onto the mat. If you feel like you're squishing your nose and you want to put a cushion under your head, under your forehead, you can, or maybe turn your nose slightly to the side if you feel like you're getting squashed. Okay, legs should be still wide for me, please, planted at the corners of the mat. But we're doing a bit of arm work now. Bring your belly to your spine. And as you exhale, lift your right arm so that the palm comes off the floor, the right arm lifts, and then place it back down. Breathe in, exhale, lift your left arm. So doing a bit of work on shoulders, alternate arm lifts. You're thinking of that lift really just heading to your maximum range without starting to twist the spine. So you're looking to work the shoulder blade. We're not looking to get any rotation of the waist. Just an isolation of each shoulder as you lift and lower. And don't hold the breath. Exhale as you lift. Okay. And lifting. We've got one more either side. And then bring those hands back down on the floor. Nice. I'd like to sweep your right arm now out towards your side. So it's at the same height as your shoulder. You're still looking down at the mat. And we're going to do the same arm lift here. Breathing in, exhale belly to spine and single arm lift and lower. How does this feel? How does it feel? Is the one above the head? Does it feel more difficult? Is it easier? Don't forget to exhale as you lift. And just double check that arm is actually down, out towards your side. It's not kind of out at the corner of the mat. It's not down by your waist. It's directly perpendicular to the body. Out it is towards the side. And you're bringing that shoulder blade and you're rolling it in towards the center of the spine using your rhomboids, using your trapezius muscles. Pull that arm into the center of the spine, or shoulder blade to the center of the spine. And our final one here. Pausing, take the hand now and sweep it right down towards the side of your thigh, your palm facing in towards your leg or your hip, thumb down, little finger up. It really is right next to your leg, please, okay? And when you're ready, you're going to bring your little finger up to the ceiling, leading with the little finger, slicing the hand, lifting from the shoulder so you have a straight single arm lift there. Thumb comes back down towards the mat, kiss the mat, breathe in, exhale, and lift. So it's a single straight arm lift, working a little bit on the back of the deltoids there. Even the triceps working, although that depends on how much you're straightening your arm, okay? Because your tricep will be working to keep the arm straight. Breathe in when the thumb is down, exhale as you lift the little finger, or the hand and arm, I should say, leading with the little finger. And lengthen this arm, exhale belly to spine as you lift, one more. And then bring the hand down, sweep the arm back to the front, Superman starting position. Left arm now sweeps and out towards the side. So out towards the side at T or in parallel to your shoulder, and then palm down. When you're ready, you're going to do the same on this side. Lifting now from that shoulder blade area, lift, roll the shoulder blade into the center of your spine. But again, you're isolating the shoulder blade. You're not finding any twist or lift from your waist, from the rib cage. It's really all about these shoulders. We hear a lot about torn rotator cuff muscles. It's kind of common parlance, frozen shoulders. So we really need to work on the nitty-gritty, small, supporting muscles around these shoulders, okay? And of course, the underlying issues of slightly closed, weakened chest muscles. We need to make sure we have strong shoulder blades, strong shoulder areas to be able to keep that chest open. Okay. In everyday life, we've got one more, and then we're going to sweep the hand down by the side of your thigh. Turn the palm in, thumb down, little finger up. When you're ready, breathing in and lift that arm towards the ceiling as if there was a string on that little finger, just lifting and lowering with your breath in. Exhale as you lift. And down. What's going on with the belly button? Is that still drawing in as you exhale? Are you still feeling those legs are wide? Are you still feeling relaxed through the legs and the hips? We've got four more. As you lift, exhale, and lengthen that arm. Use the triceps to really straighten through that elbow joint. And last two. And final one. Well done. Bring that arm back round to the start position in Superman. And then go ahead and widen those arms now so they are at the diagonals of your mat. Okay, guys? So you've got wide legs. Make sure those legs are wide, okay? Even wider than the mat if you can, and arms are wide. Really land grab, yeah? Wiggle those fingers away from you. Wiggle, stretching those legs till you get as much space as you can in your limbs and your corresponding hip and shoulder joints. Okay, so from here, the belly button is in. We're going to lift the right leg and the left arm. So you're elevating the opposite arm and leg, and go ahead and reach those guys. Once you've lifted, reach, stretch, and then see if you can lift them a millimeter higher, and then lower them back down. And now it's right arm and left leg turn. Lift, reach, and stretch. Get that glute fired up, belly in, and lift a tiny bit higher if you can when you're pausing, and then down. So you know your end of range. Try and find that end of range as you switch to the first combination of arm and leg. Place it back down. Breathing in, exhale, switch. Lift and lengthen. If you want to add in the head lift as you lift your next arm and leg combo, you can forehead float and down and lift. And we're going to switch, just a slow, steady switch as you remind yourself of that stretch, that reach, that end of range, especially that glute activation, that spine long. And the shoulders getting their little final work. And last one. We're just well done. And bring yourself back, well done, into your position on the mat. Legs come together now, please, for me, guys. Legs are together. And we're going to bring our hands now and make fists with the hands, all right? So as if you're having a mini little tantrum, okay? You've got your little fingers down towards the mat and thumbs towards the ceiling. Knuckles are together, as if you're knocking the knuckles together, and they come into an arc or an arch shape over the top of your head, just kind of above the hairs on your head. So they're really quite close, yeah, to your head. And once you've got the hands in position, pull the shoulder blades down. And if you need to move the elbows, remember we talked about the response of the body. If you pull the shoulder blades down, you might want to lift the elbows and move them also slightly down. Okay, so you've got that really strong feeling of active arms and shoulders, yes? Now from here, I'd like you to bring your belly to spine and lift your forehead just as you did a moment ago in your forehead float, still facing down towards the mat. Check in on those shoulders. Are they still pulling down? Do you need to move the elbows again just to make sure you've got that clearance and the shoulder blades down, neck is long? Now we're going to lift your gaze again as we've prepped already. So you've got that pull from the belly button. This should be a really nice, strong, supported position now for your lower spine. You're strong now with the belly button in as well. Make sure that's checked in before we now think about the legs. They are now going to be lifting off the mat. Both legs are lifting if you can. If you struggle with the leg lift, just allow them to rest on the mat, but make sure they feel long. Okay. If you can go into that leg lift, that's fantastic. And we're going to then breathe in and exhale as you bring your right heel towards your bottom and pulse for 2. Send the legs away, but they're still long and elevated if you can. Breathe in, exhale, and pulse with the other heel towards your bum with 2 exhales. Breathe in, exhale, and pulse, pulse. Shoulder blades pulling back and down, guys. Use those shoulder blades to make space. It's almost like you're still trying to pull yourself forwards along the mat. With your breath in, with your legs extended, you exhale as you pulse twice to the bottom. Make space with the breath in, exhale as you pulse, pulse. Stretching across the quads, stretching over the knees, actively using the hamstrings. Exhale, exhale, pulse, pulse. Lifting the belly button a little higher. If you've dumped down a little bit, just think about pulling forwards, shoulder blades down, strong supported back, legs long. Last one. And release. Everything coming back down onto the mat. Well done. Okay, so from here we're going to just roll onto our side. So roll over, nice and easy for side kick. So we're facing down the middle of the mat. So we're lying down the middle of the mat, facing forwards. Head can be supported or out. Alrighty, so we've done a lot of work on the front. We've done diagonal slings. We've done work in the core. We've done work on the back. We've done back extension. We're going to head onto the sides of the body. Down the middle of the mat we are here, making sure all the things you talked about last term are still buzzing through your head. You're thinking of maybe a slight lift of the rib cage, okay? So you're not just kind of hanging out like a big old sort of saggy bridge. You're thinking of nice and actively using the lift of the ribs. The belly is in, the neck is long. You're trying not to look down towards your toes. You're thinking of spinal alignment. Okay, from here, go ahead and bend the lower knee so it's just slightly supporting you as a stabilizer, but don't roll back onto it, yeah? You still need your muscles to keep you stacked. Lifting the top leg towards the side is a great little sign for you there. If you feel like you're lifting your leg and you can see your toes and your kneecaps to the sky, you're wrong. You need to be knees, caps, and toes facing to me. Place the leg back down with a breath in, exhale as you lift. Okay. This is just checking positioning and lengthening of the leg. Thigh bone. Stretch it out of the hip if you can with a lovely strong press of that toe towards the mat, the end of the mat. Feel it trying to reach the wall there to the side of you. Exhale as you lift. Exhale. Wonderful. Pausing this next time the leg is elevated and flex at the ankle. Nice right angle here. Feel maybe perhaps you might need a bit of support in front of you with this kickstand hand because we're coming forwards with this leg, roughly speaking, shoulder or hip height, and you're in flexion. Then we go into point and send the leg behind us. So you get a really nice stretch through the front of the leg, go into flexion and we're forwards. Soles of the feet to me and then point to the back corner of the mat. Well done. And forwards and back. Well done. And forwards and back and forwards. Now, if you want to speed this up slightly, you can add on small little pulses. So it's a pulse, pulse forwards and a pulse, pulse back and a pulse, pulse forward and a press, press back. Pulse, pulse forward. Press, press back. And this next time we're back, I want you to hold the leg at that back corner of the mat. Okay, go ahead for me and lift your top arm now off the floor and just send it away around about the side of your head or temple towards the front corner of the mat in front of you here. Okay, look just down slightly to ease the neck, okay, towards the front corner of the mat, and have a reach. Have a really big old stretch down this across this diagonal angle and the sides of your body. Now what I'd like you to do is sweep this arm back down towards the side of your thigh, and as you do so I want you to send your leg towards the front corner of the mat. Okay, so your arm is now behind you and your leg is in front of you. That's it. Breathing in, exhale, and sweep the arm towards the temple and your leg towards the back corner. Well done. Breathe in, exhale. As you sweep the arm behind you, your leg comes forward. You don't need to do any of the flexion of the foot. If that's, you know, one more thing to worry about, don't worry. Just go ahead and work on that balance, because this is about sending messages from the front to the back of your body to keep you from falling over, keeping that brain challenged. But also, of course, it's the core physically that's keeping you balanced. Okay, so super important core work. Last two. And we're going to pause this time with the leg behind and the hand towards the front. Now, this is a range of movement that's not available for everyone, so it might just be a small touch down. What I'd like you to do is think about, if you can, just touching the foot down and then lift and the arm down and lift them up. Okay, so don't worry if you don't get all the way to the mat, okay, but just that sense of slightly lowering the arm and leg and then lifting a little bit higher. You might just start to be a little bit of aware of the outside edge of that bottom or hip area or thigh, feeling a little bit of a burn there. Perhaps that should be where you're feeling the energy anyway, where you're working. For two more. Breathing in when you're down, exhale as you lift. Last time down and lift, and then gently bring that leg in and that arm in and knees in towards you. Gorgeous, well done. Okay, we're going to just gently bring ourselves up and over to the side. So switching those legs around, again down the middle of the mat, aligning yourself up along the edge. Brilliant little check-in with the front edge of the mat is how wonky you might be. That helps with alignment. Just check you're pretty much the same distance from your chest to the front edge of the mat as you are from your feet to the front edge of the mat. Yeah, okay. Again, as I said, all those little bits and pieces you're thinking about, the lift of the rib cage slightly, Like Pilates said, make a little house of the mouse under your armpits so you're not really dumped down. You're feeling like you're almost hovering there. And legs are long, gently then bending the lower leg to be a little bit of a stabilizer, but don't roll back. Shoulder blades down, necks long, look out at the horizon. Nice. Lift of that top leg and check your balance. Check your stack in the hips. Yes, good. And of course, lengthen that leg. When you get to the top, just pause and reach for me, okay? Have that moment of just checking. Am I really reaching that leg? Can I really feel the space in the hip? Yeah, that's it. Well done. Breathe in and lift. And down. Good. And lifting and lowering. Okay, 2 more. Pausing this time in lift. Flexion at the ankle. Yeah, get a bit of stretch in the calf muscles. From here, just double check you've got a bit of a kickstand at the front. Breathe in and exhale as you come forwards. And then you're heading to point and send the leg behind you to the back corner of the mat. Gorgeous stretch over the hip flexors. Come forwards then in flexion. And trying to think about keeping sort of the same height front and back. Sometimes you end up kind of dropping down to the front and then swinging up to the back. You're thinking of being on a table or a level surface as you head forwards and backwards. That's good. That's great. That's better. Well done. And back. Again, you can add in that little tiny pulse if you want to. Totally up to you. Double pulse or a press. Forwards and backwards. Breathing in and exhale with that little pulse. Exhale when you're forwards. Exhale when you're back. Last one, forwards. And pausing this time with the leg towards the back of the room. Get the core in because you're going to lose this supporting hand. Okay, lifting the arm now to, roughly speaking, your temple area, front corner or diagonal corner of the mat or the room. Look down slightly just to alleviate a bit of that twist on the neck. Right, reach, stretch. Leg behind you, glute active, arm long through the fingertips, nice. From here, we're now going to go into our sweep. So you're going to take your hand down towards your hip. It skims over the hip towards the back of you and your top leg comes to the front corner of your mat. Well done. Arm back, front forward, leg forwards. Then we switch. Arm towards the front and leg towards the back. And switch. Well done. Nice little balance challenge. Great combination. A coordination piece, sorry. Well done. We've got 2 more. And when we finish this next time with the leg behind us at the back corner, we're going to pause here. Again, embrace that reach, tummy in, shoulder blades back and down. From here, we're going to tap down to your maximum range down, okay? And then lift up towards the ceiling, down with a breath in, exhale as you lift, down with a breath in, exhale. Feel that lovely flow, that undulation of the limbs as you breathe in, down, exhale up. Last 2 and final 1. And then bring your arm back by your side and leg in, knees in towards your chest. Well done. Okay, from here we're going to bring ourselves into 4-point kneeling, guys. So pop your hands under your shoulder area, swing your knees underneath you. And before we head into a stretch, before we head into our cat stretch, I'd like you down to just do what we call wag the tail. So your shoulders are back and down, belly is in. Bring your right heel, please, to your right bottom, but your right knee is still on the mat, okay? So it's just a bend of the right leg. Okay, so the right heel is now going to cross over and point towards your left bottom cheek. Now look over your left shoulder, please, and see if you can check out those toenails just over your shoulder. Get a bit of a glimpse. Breathe in. Exhale, bring yourself back to center. Let the right foot come back down. Lift the left foot so the left heel is up to your left bum. And then it crosses over towards your right bottom cheek. Look over your right shoulder. Check out the toes. Breathe in. And exhale, bring yourself back to center. We've got 1 more either side. Right heel to right bottom. Across to the left bottom cheek. Look over your left shoulder. And really embrace that opening down the side of the body and that stretch in that lower spine area. Placing your leg back down when you're ready. And it's the left heel up. Across to the right heel, bottom cheek, and look over your right shoulder. Well done, gorgeous. Bring yourself back to center and release there. Back into child's pose, please, for a moment, or rest position, bottom towards your heels. You can have elbows down, you can have elbows up, you can have bottoms down, you can have bottoms up. It's really whatever's comfortable for you for a moment as you breathe in. And we just allow that spine just a bit of a stretch as we've been on our fronts for a little while, and our side work, give it a stretch. Okay, if we can all now slide our hands forwards towards the front short edge of the mat, I should say, and you're going to bring your bottom up towards the ceiling. Now you may be able to get your head back down onto the mat, you may not, so you may want to double up the mat or grab a little cushion and pop it under your head. It's kind of wherever you're at. But what I would also like you to do now is take your right hand out to the side of you, okay? So it's just to the side, by the side of your shoulder. Now I want you to look slightly towards the left and just relax here. If you can, it might not be available to you either, I'd like you to walk your right fingertips a little bit further away from you. Now your head will move, your body will move, but we're looking to just feel the stretch at the front of the shoulder. So just keep little walking away of the fingertips. And it should be a front stretch of the shoulder, the chest. Okay, and then when you're ready, just walk the fingertips back in, bring yourself back to your center position with the extended child's pose. And then the left hand is out to the side. A slight look towards the right if you can. And again, walk now the left fingers away from you. If you don't really fancy doing any of that walking, you can just hang out here for a moment with that left arm out and just see if you can focus on the front of that left shoulder, that sense of getting a stretch to the front of the shoulder and the chest, the pectoral muscles there a little bit there on the left. And then when you're ready, just bring your hand back in, bring your gaze back to center, and then slowly bring your hands, walk them back one at a time towards your head and under your shoulders. Back into 4-point kneeling for me, please, guys. Okay, from here, we're going to tuck our toes under. Walk your hands back towards your knees and shift into a small ball position, or if you'd rather be straight into a crouch, you can. But either which way, bring that chin into your chest. And when we roll up and we need to restack the spine, just think about the work you've done. When you come back into standing, you might want to be just starting that process now. Think about the belly supporting you like a sling. Restack the vertebrae, one on top of each other. You've done loads of work in bridge. You've done loads of manipulation in back extension on our fronts. So that's really just making sure that we put the spine back together in the best possible way as you restack. Let's head into the middle of the mat for me, guys. Okay, just find now a little bit of boinginess at the knees, a little bit of boinginess at the arms. Okay, you've worked these key limbs, these key joints, beg your pardon, really well. So let's just give them a bit of a move. And hands, just make it a bit of a kind of a cradle thing, and just gently head down with soft knees towards the floor and let your head hang as well for a second. Just kind of feel a bit of boinginess. We're going to take a breath in, and as we do so, we're going to take our arms to the side of us and lift ourselves into standing. So breathe in, arms go out wide to the side and into standing, arms above the head. And exhale, bend the knees and just flop back down towards the floor. Breathe in as you open the arms wide and lift towards the sky. Exhale. Now do 2 or 3 in your own time. Find your own rhythm, find your own boinginess, find your own breath. And this last time, if we can regroup together at the top, turn the palms away from each other and press the air down by your sides, grow through the crown of the head. Lift, 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 and shoulder blades back and down. Hands down by your sides. Okay, pausing here. Breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. 1 or 2 breaths in. Your hands are down by your sides. You're thinking of a bit of energy in the heels. Shoulder blades are back and down, chest feels nicely opened. Breathe in through the nose. And as you exhale, just gently bring the belly button in, pelvic floors up. 1 more time. And open your eyes when you're done. And we are finished. Well done. Well done, everybody. Well done. Hopefully that was a nice little refresher, a little bit of an activation of the whole of the body. You're feeling nice and mobile. Do take any stretches you'd need to towards the end of the day or throughout the session. It's been a couple of weeks since you've done any work, okay? So do look after yourself and do what you feel is right and good for you. And I will see you, if on a recording, I'll see you whenever I see you, and I will see you other guys in class or in Zoom next week. So have a fantastic weekend. Hope the sun shines for you. Take care for now, folks. Bye. Bye all.